that the happy side of free agency, players getting hundreds of millions of dollars. On the not so happy side of free agency, a player getting mere millions rather than tens of millions of dollars. Dennis Schroder signs a 1-year mid-level exemption valued at $6 million with the Boston Celtics after earlier in the season turning down a 4-year, 80-something million dollar offer from the Lakers. I think my favorite headline I've read on this is Schroeder's just been in a state of shock these past days, weeks, as the weight of what he's done sinks in.
Unbelievable, right? If I mean, whoever his agent is needs to go because they told him that he was worth 120 million for most of this last season, and he listened to them. And the warning bells should have gone off the second that he wasn't offered a big contract on the first day of free agency, right? And we know that these teams negotiate deals and contracts even before free agency actually hits. How else do the Chicago Bulls and the Miami Heat pull off a signing trade with like an hour into free agency, right? Of course, there's a little bit going on. Who knows if the NBA will ever be able to prove it? But with that happening, the fact that Schroeder doesn't get that call really early on in free agency, that's instantly when you know your value is not what you thought it was. And around the league, there are a lot of perimeter guards who can score now and do what he does. And obviously teams valued guys they had in their own organization, valued other guys, maybe thought he was asking for too much, so didn't even consider giving him a contract early on in free agency, just looking for other options. And by the time all was said and done, there's a lot of money handed out and nothing left for him. So once again, he's got to take this 1 year, bet on himself. I'm sure he'll get a decent contract coming out of this year, but nowhere close to probably what he could have made with the Lakers when they offered him that extension. So really fumbled the bag on this one, Dennis. You feel bad for him. In the end, he's still a multi-millionaire. So you don't feel too bad in that regard. He's still playing professional basketball, but it kind of changes things because it's wealth for your family for many, many generations compared to wealth that with most of the lavish lifestyles that NBA players live, you'll probably go through before you retire or like reach a retirement age. So that's a tough one.
In the realm of making fun of him and why I feel completely justified and is put into perspective with another sports, you think about the contract Taylor Hall signed with the Buffalo Sabres, I think for $7 million, maybe $1 million more, which was like I'm going to take 1 year at the highest price I can get, betting that I can go earn. So I think that worked out for him almost as well as he could hope. He signed like a 4-year, $6 million per year contract with the Boston Bruins, something around there.
Yeah.
And if Schroeder has a minor to moderate success with the Celtics at the level of, oh yeah, this is a guy we can use for the next couple of years, he'll go on to earn a bigger contract than Hall with like putting way less relative value to the team. But I do find it interesting he went with the Celtics, where I think he's given probably turning down a little more money than he could have made in the hope still of betting on himself. I feel like the Pelicans, there must have been some team that would have been ready.
I don't know if any teams had really any money left. A lot of teams were capped out or close to the cap. And so no one really had money left to spend. Or if they did, it was probably a team that had a bunch of guards already and didn't need them. Huh. He got to the end of free agency and there was nothing left.
Yeah. Well, switching out Kemba for Schroeder, after a year where the Celtics core kind of struggled, or just individually, I think Tatum and Brown had pretty solid numbers, but they weren't able to win at a high enough rate. So I think the Celtics and Schroeder both probably undervalued relative to what they should be going into this season. So that'll be a pairing with both a bit of a chip on their shoulder and expect to come out of the gate firing.
Yeah, it's definitely a great signing for Boston. You just Marcus Smart is still there, but you are looking awful small in that backcourt compared to the way the league is going now with some bigger playmakers at point and at shooting guard. Like Pritchard, Schroder, Marcus Smart, none of those guys are over like 6'2". So it's definitely small, but you make up for it with some of the wing length that they have in Tatum and Brown.